With tracks like Atlanta, Watkins Glen, Talladega, and the Charlotte Roval currently in the playoffs, and the possibility of different outliers like rain or other things that can end a race early, upsets, I think, nowadays in the NASCAR playoffs are more likely than ever. And it's exactly what you would want if you're NASCAR because it makes for really great television. And this can be in a multitude of different ways. It can be non-playoff winners. It could be title-altering moments, eliminated playoff drivers at this point now. There are plenty of ways that you can really churn up and upset the playoffs. And today I want to look at the 3 different levels of upsets in NASCAR's playoff system. Now, on the lowest rung, it is what I call the mundane upset. These are guys that might do some pretty flashy things, have big moments, but ultimately don't change the makeup of how the championship finishes up all that much, even if in the moment it was really big. Most of these happened in the early years of NASCAR having a postseason during the chase era. The first one I think of that did it almost regularly was Greg Biffle. Greg Biffle won the finale both in 2004 and 2006, as well as 2005 when he was in the chase, but in those other years he wasn't in there. But he ended up playing spoiler and getting the win. He also won a pretty wild race in 2007 at Kansas, which ended due to darkness due to the track not having lights at the time. That's the first one that really comes to my mind that wasn't all that flashy, but just got the job done. One that was a bit flashy for wrong reasons would be like Brian Vickers. In 2006 at Talladega, after learning earlier in the year that he would not be returning to Hendrick Motorsports, Vickers sat third, coming to the white flag and on the last lap, behind his teammate Jimmy Johnson in second, who was battling for a championship, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mr. Popular, leading the way. Down the backstretch, Jimmy makes a move, Brian makes a move, but Brian's was just a little bit too late, and it causes the 48 and 8 to wreck while the 25 wins. It was pretty big in the moment. It seemed like at that time with how far back Jimmy was that it almost eliminated him, and it seemed like it could have taken Little E out of a chance at a championship as well. But as it turned out, it wouldn't have made a difference if they didn't wreck or not. Jimmy still would have won. Junior still would have been in contention for the championship like he was. And speaking of 2006, you still have the biggest mundane upset, if you will, ever with Tony Stewart, who just went on a tear in the chase in 2006, winning races at Kansas as well as Atlanta and Texas, and being up front for most of them. Stewart, again, didn't change really how the championship finished out. None of his wins being taken away, with one spot being moved up for everyone else, would have made that much of a difference in the championship. If anything, it would have helped Jimmy Johnson. But it was pretty cool seeing somebody who wasn't in the hunt absolutely dominate. The middle tier of this is more what I call the what could have been kind of upset. These are upsets that definitely would have changed the way that the title fight played out, but it might not have necessarily changed exactly the champions in each one. First one is rain in 2015 at Phoenix. Yeah, you could say Dale Earnhardt Jr. as an eliminated playoff driver played the upset in that one, but he was just in the right place at the right time, and he also, I think, really capitalized on NASCAR extending the caution way longer than it should have been. But this denied a chance for all of the other chasers that year who were in the round of 8 to be able to try and get a win and get their way in. And we'll talk about a few of them later on in this video, but that alone and the weather completely dictated the championship for that year based on who hadn't gotten themselves in with a win yet. And another one that definitely would change things had his strategy not worked out was Kasey Kahne in 2011. Kahne with Red Bull was okay. He'd be up front, battle for a couple wins, but was not consistent enough to even make the top 12 in points, let alone top 10. He was winless for most of the year until he managed to squeak out a victory thanks to a pretty good strategy at Phoenix. Who did he finish ahead of? Well, the 2 guys who ended up tied in points the next week, Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart. Why was that important? Well, say Kahne's strategy doesn't work out and those 2 finish ahead of him. Yeah, Smoke gains a point if he finishes second behind Edwards, and he was hard charging, so it's not like he wasn't battling the 99 and trying to catch him, But Carl Edwards with the win not only would have moved up a position, but he would have gotten an extra 4 points out of it. Those 4 points made all of the difference. Had Kane's strategy just been a second off of where it was, Carl Edwards is the 2011 champion without a doubt. And the other one that kind of fits in this middle ground is Dale Earnhardt Jr. again winning in the round of 8, this time in 2014 at Martinsville. Now, Jr. had a great year, but got eliminated thanks to some bad luck and bad calls the round before. He ended up having a great strategy with fresh tires at the end, charging back up through the pack and winning the race just ahead of his teammate Jeff Gordon in second. Gordon was all around the best driver of 2014, and it seemed like that second would be a great building ground to get him into the next round. But thanks to how the original elimination style chase playoff was, he ended up having no playoff points or anything like you'd have today to keep him safe, and instead was dead even. So the fight was insanely close heading into the last 2 races. And of course, he finished second in the one at Phoenix, but he had that issue at Texas where he ended up getting crashed out. And because of that, he would end up missing when Ryan Newman pulled a bonsai move on Kyle Larson. If he gets ahead of Dale Jr., he is in the championship 4, and who knows what could have happened from there. And for the top tier, you have the motivated, revenge-based upset. These are the guys who had some beef with somebody running for the championship, and they decided to exact revenge at the exact worst time. There's others that could fit in this, like, for instance, Matt Kenseth at different points with other guys that weren't Joey Logano. Or you have, for instance, Chase Elliott with Denny Hamlin, but there are 2 major ones, the poster boys, for taking people out when it matters most. And the first one is Jeff Gordon at Phoenix in 2012 with Clint Bowyer. These two had a tussle all year, having issues back and forth at different points, and at Phoenix, it finally reached a head. Bowyer, because of the wreck of Jimmy Johnson earlier in the race, was still on the outside fringes of championship contention. So he was trying to charge forward, getting as many positions as possible to make up on Brad Keselowski. With that, he made contact with Jeff Gordon and ultimately ruined Gordon's race. Gordon vowed revenge, waited for him on track, and completely demolished him into the outside wall of turns 3 and 4 at Phoenix, ending his race and championship bid, and starting an amazing brawl that we'll never forget. This was one of the biggest. The absolute biggest was 2015 with Joey Logano and Matt Kenseth at Martinsville. Joey and Matt had been going back and forth for a couple weeks. Joey ended up taking Matt out for a win at Kansas. This ultimately would be the difference, as he would have issues the rest of this round, including some issues at Talladega even, with Joey Logano definitely treating him unfairly. Matt Kenseth being eliminated, Logano sweeping the round to marvelous boos from the fans. And at Martinsville, it looked like he was going to go 4 in a row, the first one to do that in the playoffs since Jimmy Johnson in 2007. But Matt Kenseth, having been wrecked out thanks to a few Penske shenanigans on a restart earlier in the race, said enough was enough for him. Comes back out with a beaten, battered race car and takes out Logano from the lead, handing the race and ultimately win over to Jeff Gordon. Logano would have issues at Texas the next week, and with rain at Phoenix taking out his last shot, he would lose the championship chance, basically the best of his career to that point, because of Matt Kenseth. The motivated, revenge-based upset. So those are the ones that I thought of, the ones that pop up to me whenever I first think about this topic. Now I want to know which ones you think. What are the biggest upsets you can remember? And who do you think could be an upset this year in the NASCAR playoffs? And maybe to which driver if it's a motivated one? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thanks so much to all my channel members for your continued support. And until next time, have a good one.